Should I buy now while rates are higher but prices are lower? Or should I wait until the rates come down later this year and then buy? So I'm gonna get real nerdy and like a lot of math and break this all down for you in the most empirical, logical way possible so that you understand how to answer that question if you're thinking about it. So make sure to stay tuned. Now, if you are contemplating a purchase right now, whether it's a move up, sell your current home and buy another one kind of situation, or just buying your first home, and the rate question is popping up in your head and you're wondering about whether you should buy now or later based on these rates, you could book a call with me directly using the link right here. It's www.chatwithzen.com, and we can talk about your unique personal situation and how these rates may apply to that. Simply click on the date and a time that works best for you. And then when you see the prompt, fill in your name, email, mobile phone number, and the question you have for me, and then we'll chat then. Good day, Toronto. Welcome to another episode of Prime Properties TV. My name is Zen, and if you're enjoying the content I'm putting out there, do me a favor and like and subscribe to the channel. So I've been asked a lot of this question by many people recently, and it goes like this, like whether they should be buying now or waiting later when the rates are coming down, because that's what it looks like and that's what all the talk's talking about, right? Very, very rational question. So I'm gonna get nerdy and mathematical and approach the question and show you what the numbers actually say. Now, obviously, different criteria will affect the decision at the end of the day, such as, like whether you need to sell a home, because that makes a really big difference. And whether that home that you are selling, is in a hotter market, so it's easier to sell than the one you're trying to buy, right? So an example is like if you're upgrading from an entry-level freehold to a detached, it's probably easier to sell the freehold than to buy the detached right now. Or like it's hard to sell the condo and just as hard to buy the freehold. Or if you're just trying to be a first-time homebuyer, and whether you're concerned about buying now or waiting till rates come down because you don't have to sell anything, then this is a totally rational question, and this video is for you. So the reason this is a tough answer is because not many people actually know how to break down the math of whether it makes sense or not, right? Or maybe they just don't understand the complexity of an amortization schedule. Yeah, I know. Now, before I get started, there are two things I do want to address. Number one, there's this saying that you want to date the rate and marry the price. Meaning the price you pay is way more important than the rate you'll be getting, and you'll soon see why later. Number two, generally when rates go down, prices go up, and it's the same for reverse, right? We just saw it recently. Now, we saw this during pandemic when rates got cut and prices went up, and the speed at which prices go up really depends on the inventory in that segment particularly. That's why I'm saying everyone's situation is different, right? Is why I said earlier that if you're ultimately trying to make a move, I would book a call with me to kind of like chat about it after you watch this video. So let's rock and roll. So how I'm breaking this math down is this. I take the interest that you would have paid on the term, meaning how long you got the mortgage for, 3 year, 1 year, 5 year, whatever, for the mortgage, and I add that on top of the price you would have paid for your property. So, i.e. your total purchase price is the interest that you paid plus the price that you bought the home for. And I did that because that's how you can calculate the net amount you're actually paying for the home. Now, keep in mind, this is the interest portion of the monthly mortgage payment, not the principal. The second, keep in mind, FYI BTW, is most people just focus on that monthly payment, which is fine. It's very, very basic way to look at it. But in reality, when you get a mortgage, again, you've been paying an interest portion and a principal portion based on the purchase price. And the principal portion is you owning more of that property. So you want more of that than the interest side. And this is what an amortization schedule is. And in an amortization schedule, the bulk of your payment in the beginning is mostly interest. That's why it's like a curve that looks like this. Now, I'm mainly talking right now in these examples I show you on the screen about 3-year fixed terms, because that's generally the most common kind of comparison I've been asked and that I've seen. But I've also built in a 5-year term in the calculator if you want to have a look at it, or personally, if you want the calculator and you want to adjust it yourself, link in the description, download it just in below, right? Now, in my examples, I have a few assumptions that I made with the highest probability of happening, at least in my mind, from like trading day to day. And again, you can play with it however like you want just by downloading the calculator. So number one scenario, let's talk about the first time home buyer. Now this could be a higher price that maybe you're looking at or lower price, but I'm just using 500,000 just as a loose example. It's easy math, right? So that's like your condo. So call that 500 grand. We're looking at a current rate of 5.5% on a 3-year fix. Yes, I know there's some lower. Yes, that's some higher. I'm just assuming conventional stuff, okay? So that makes your monthly mortgage payment $2,200 a month. And when I look at the 3-year term, you'll be paying about $63,000 in interest, or it makes up 80% of your payment in those 3 years, right? And when I add that up, we arrive at a net price of about $564,000. Now, let's say prices go up 5% and the rates come down 1%. So now you're looking at interest rate of 4.5% instead of 5%, which changes your monthly payment to $2,100 or a savings of $140 a month, which is what most people focus on, right? But you can see over here that the percentage of interest that you paid is lower, and you can see how much you're paying in terms of a percentage of principal versus interest, and that changes with interest rates as well because of the amortization schedule. So in this example, you're paying off more principal. You go from 22% to 28%. Now keep in mind, your 3-year total cost of the home, when I add up the interest amount on the higher purchase price, is $580,000 because you're paying a little bit more for that property and on top of the land transfer tax. So therefore your net price is higher. So your total amount, because in my calculation is in the red, it means that you're paying essentially $22,000 more if you buy with a 1% lower rate, but prices go up 5%, even though your monthly payment decreases. See what I mean? Date the rate, marry the price. And if I apply this to a 5-year term, right? You want to get 5-year fixed, which some people may want to get, no judgment. You can see that it's about a $16,000 difference, not as big. And the reason why this amount is smaller, not larger, is because with a 3-year, like I said a little bit earlier, in an amortization schedule, you're paying a lot of your interest up front. So with a 5-year term being 2 years longer, you're therefore paying off more equity on the last 2 years relative to the first 3 years in that 5-year term than you would in compared to the 3-year term. And this is just if you want to make a side-by-side comparison. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people will be very, very focused on the fact that, hey, look, my monthly payment is actually less if I, buy when the rates are lower, even if prices go up by 5%. It is true. It definitely is. You can see in the math, right? But you have to factor in the principal versus interest component of the amortization schedule and your mortgage payment. That's very important. So what that basically means is it is better most of the time for you to be buying at a lower price and higher rates than to buy at a lower rate and a higher price. Or simply put, the higher rate does expire, right? But the price does not, and it sticks with you for a very, very long time, right? So let's look at another example. Call it freehold. I just loosely, again, put $1 million. Maybe they're moving up, you have more equity, whatever, right? Just call it $1 million. So we're looking at entry-level freehold here, and you can see same thing exactly over here. If you buy with a higher price and a lower rate, you can see the same thing over here. You're saving about $270 a month if you were to buy in a situation where prices go up, again, 5%, but rates come down 1%. But at the end of the 3-year term, you're paying an extra 44 grand, give or take from the land transfer tax. So you can see it is more expensive. Same principle as a condo, right? Obviously, if prices appreciate by more than the 5%, the difference is bigger, right? But if you're wondering where the 1% rate drop is like a net roughly the same in terms of appreciation, it's 2%. It's right here. And I can tell you, without sounding all like FOMO realtor, most spring markets go up more than 2% just seasonally adjusted, right? Last year when fixed rates were 5% to 4%, we saw a 10% increase. Granted, I think there was a lot of pent up demand from 2022 and it may not happen this year, but again, there was some data to show that it did happen. Either way, I'm not trying to FOMO you into the decision. I'm just showing you the math and the data and stuff that has happened recently to help logic you into understanding the system and kind of this math, right? Of course, a lot of this is obviously predicated on when, rate cuts will happen. And it's not necessarily going to be like the Bank of Canada rate cuts, but maybe the bond market that determines the fixed rates, right? And, how high potentially CPI may rebound, which I touched on when I was reacting to David Rosenberg's video on Tuesday. But I hope this sheds some kind of light on whether you should be, buying now or waiting from like strictly a mathematic perspective to, buy later, right? And it's totally up to you, right? The one thing I will say is we have to keep in mind there are a lot of other factors, such as the home you may want to buy may not be available on the market right now, or you may have to sell a property and it may not be a good market to sell that property, right? So it's not just about, timing the rate. You have to time about the things you have to do to get that new rate as well, or if you can fix and port and all the other stuff. And if you do want to talk about your own personal unique situation, you can book a call with me using the link that's right here. It's www.chatwithzen.com. Until next time, your move, your future. See ya! Now that you're done watching this one, how about this one? Or this one? You know what? Just watch them both.